Hi everyone. Hope everybody's having a good start to their week. So here we are at long last. We're going to be talking about first aid. What happens if your bearded dragon gets sick or injured and needs help? As we all know, sometimes it's hard to get them into the veterinarian as quickly as we'd like. Those of you who have been following Chimera's case know that as dire as he was when he got here, it was 14 full days before I could get him into the vet. If you live in an area of the United States where you have access to a really good herpetological vet that sees reptiles, oh my gosh, consider yourself so incredibly lucky. We have one vet in our entire county that will see reptiles and still doesn't specialize in them, and so guys, it can be a nightmare. Now, what I'm going to tell you is not a substitute for veterinary care. Okay, if your dragon needs to go, they need to go, and they need to go right away by the time that you see that they're ill, because they're pretty good at hiding it for a long time until they really can't hide it anymore, and now they're really, really, really in need. They're really sick. So I'm just going to start really quickly with what should you be using every single day. Okay. Also, I will tell you, I get all of my supplements and 90+% of my supplies from beardeddragon.co, not .com, .co, C-O, for a couple of reasons. First one is it's one-stop shopping. Anything I could possibly ever want is there, so I can get it there. Also, prices are extremely reasonable. Also, they are reptile owners themselves and have been for many, many years. And I have had the best luck with their products. So there's no bad here, guys. It's a win-win all the way around. So again, www.beardeddragon.co. Seriously, if you haven't been there, look them up. They're not sponsoring the video or anything like that, but I do use their products. And I mean, I have had some incredibly sick and injured dragons, and they've not let me down once. So seriously, you guys, that's the place to go. Okay. All right. So what should you be giving your dragons on a regular basis? Well, first of all, calcium, our friend calcium, as you know, every day. So you want to get a regular calcium for dusting their feeders, adding to their salad, however you want to do that. Now this one, as you can see, they're big red letters, no D3, okay? Because it's not, the D3, although you need it, you don't need it every single day, so, but you do want to have it. So how do you do this? Okay, this is a good everyday calcium. And I mean, this calcium complex it's got literally, there's a list of everything that beardeddragon.co sells, and including the breakdown on the nutrition and what's in it. I'm not kidding you, you guys. The multivitamin has like 2.5 pages. I showed it to the veterinarian here, and they started ordering it because it's so incredibly full of every single thing you could possibly need. So another nice thing about beardeddragon.co is they have things packaged for reptiles. So everything you get there is going to have instructions. Okay, so dust live feeding insect feeders once a day. Okay, it has probiotics in it, it has magnesium, and it has serrapeptase. All good stuff. It says right here, helps prevent secondary nutritional hyperparathyroidism when used regularly with your animal's care regimen. And there's their address right there, beardeddragon.co. I don't know how many of you knew that, yes, your dragons can have thyroid trouble. Hyperparathyroidism is a bummer. It's hard to diagnose for lay people like us, and can have pretty dire consequences for your dragon. So, this is one of the reasons why you want to make sure they get regular supplements, okay? Now, the other calcium you need with D3. And you guys, this particular calcium, now this isn't to say that there aren't other brands that are on the market that are completely fine. If you like, Reptivite, that's fine. If you like Flukers, that's okay too. I'm just saying that these have worked wonders, literally miracles for me. And they apparently taste good, because if any of the calcium falls on the floor of their enclosure, because it comes off of the bugs, they will lick it up freely. Like you don't even have to put it on the bugs. If I put it on my finger, they would lick it off my finger. So they enjoy the taste of it. However they manage that, I don't know, but they seem to do that. Okay, now again, dusting live insect feeders once a day. So now how do you break this down? Well, I will tell you. Daily calcium, which has no D3. This is safe to use every day on your feeders, okay? Twice a week, substitute the D3 calcium so that your dragon is getting a dose of D3 in their calcium at least twice a week. Not more, though, than 3 times a week. So 2 to 3 times a week is ample for the D3. If your dragon is normally healthy and is perfectly fine, and is an adult. Now, if you have a dragon that's sick, or has MBD that you rescued, or is suffering nutritionally, then you want to ask your vet, because they may switch it out and say, well, I want you to give them this one 4 times a week and only give them this one a couple of times, or however they might want to do it. So always important to ask. But if your dragon is a normal adult dragon, normal meaning normal health, daily, twice a week, substitute this one. Okay. Next, they should be getting a probiotic. Why? Well, really the same reason that we need a probiotic. We need to have our immune system boosted, especially now because we've been in a pandemic for really a long time, guys. And so the nutrition that helps your immune system is actually broken down intestinally. So the probiotics is what you need to be able to help that break down and keep the good gut flora in there, okay? And it tells you everything that's in it. Has all kinds of fabulous stuff, okay? It tells you here, offer 2 to 3 times per week or as needed. What does that mean? Well, 2 to 3 times a week is perfectly ample. You can put it in a smoothie if you make a smoothie for your dragon. You can sprinkle it on their salads or on their feeders. So let's say it's not a bug day. It's okay. You can put this on their salad. And again, they seem to like the taste. I don't have a problem with any of them eating it. So anyway, so you want to make sure they're getting a probiotic a couple of times a week to maintain their digestion and their immune system. Multivitamin. Now, guys, very, very important, okay? You want to make sure that they're getting a multivitamin once a week for healthy dragons. When I rescue dragons, if they can tolerate it digestively, I'll usually start them on twice a week. If they've got, if they're really been sick or they're really weak or they need to they have to make up, then I give it to them a couple times. But again, this one has just ridiculous amount of nutritional supplementation. It's even got amino acids, people. And this one has bee pollen, which is probably why they enjoy it. It tastes really good to them. Everything that BeardedDragon.co carries has organic components, so you don't have to worry. Now, this does not have any D3 in it, so you don't have to worry about crossover. There are some things that do crossover that you'll notice that some of these have the same things in them. But multivitamin at least once a week. Should be once a week for normal, healthy adult dragons. If your dragon is sickly, I would say maybe increase it to twice, or if you have a juvenile, maybe twice a week. I wouldn't go more than that because it does have an awful lot of stuff in it. So you don't want to overdo something that, shouldn't be overdone. Okay. Everybody got that? So, daily, twice a week, 2 to 3 times a week, once a week. Now, if you have trouble remembering all of that, you can get masking tape or you can get sticker pack or whatever and just write on it. This is when I do it. I think it's easiest to put it on a calendar. So for instance, my multivitamin I give every Sunday. Probiotics are Wednesday and Saturday. Also, calcium complex, Wednesday and Saturday, because it's easy to remember when I give these two together so that they both get in. And then this one's my good everyday grab for it, okay? If you use these in addition to just straight bee pollen powder that you can sprinkle on once or twice a month, you're going to avoid the veterinarian most of the time. These are for health maintenance for your dragons, okay? They can live a long, healthy, wonderful life with the right supplements, okay? Now, obviously, you might need to use the probiotic more often. Let's say, like when Chimera first got here and his diarrhea was so bad, he was losing all of his gut flora that he needed in order to thrive. So I had to replace that as quickly as I could. And because I was syringe feeding, it was really easy to just go ahead and add that and give him a little bit of extra in the syringe, a little extra probiotic, so that I knew he was getting it replaced. If your dragon is recovering because it's had a parasite, if it's had coccidia or it's had worms or something of that nature, also something that's been, zapping its nutrition from it, it's another good reason to use the probiotic more often, okay? If you're worried, ask your veterinarian what they would recommend and if it's okay. All right? And again, multivitamin once a week, twice if they're sick or if they're juveniles, and you should be good to go. Okay? Dun-da-da-da. What's next? Well, telling you guys, this is the next best item you are going to have for your dragon's health. What is it? It's a scale. Now, you want a scale that weighs in grams. Now, there are a lot of scales, and you don't need to have an expensive scale. It just needs to weigh in grams. Some of them will only go up to, 125, 150 grams. Because if you get one that's made for like jewelry making, that would be, heavy for jewelry making, okay? This one happens to be a food scale, standard in your kitchen. You want to weigh your celery or whatever. And it weighs in grams and it weighs in pounds. Now, it only weighs up to 11 pounds, but that's way more than you should ever need for your bearded dragons, okay? The nice thing too is if you need to, you can see if you turn it on. Okay, so it zeroes out. But let's say, you wanted to weigh your dragon and you wanted to put a cloth on here or something. This particular scale, and it's not expensive. It was from Amazon. It's called 1x1 kitchen scale. But let's say you wanted to put, or you want to put a bowl or something to weigh them. This particular scale, and I suggest you look for one that does that. Put it on before you turn it on, because then when you turn it on, it's zero with whatever you've put on here, okay? So if you want to put a bowl or you want to put something on there, and then when you put your dragon on there and you weigh them, then it weighs, just what the dragon weighs, not what the bowl or the cloth or whatever you've put on top of it weighs, okay? So, but this will be your saving grace right here, because often the first sign that your dragon might be ill or might not be feeling well is they've suddenly lost weight. Now, you should be weighing your dragon. I would recommend weekly. You can get away with twice a month if everything's going fine and they seem to be healthy and all is right with the world. However, I really do recommend weekly, because sometimes that will tell you volumes. Also, if they do something like go into brumation and you don't get a chance to weigh them for a while because they're going to sleep for a couple, 3 months, it's good that you had the week before, you had a weight to work off of so that you know when they wake up how they're doing. Now, when they go into brumation and they do not eat or drink anything for the duration of however long their brumation cycle is going to be, and that's the thing that, is determined per dragon. You do not want them to lose more than 30 grams. Okay? That should be the maximum they should ever lose while they're brumating. Any more than that, something's up. So that would be the time to go, maybe I need to get a fecal sample looked at, because, if they've got some kind of a parasite or something of that nature, you want to catch it hopefully before they go into brumation, because once they're into brumation, you don't want something to be continually eating at their insides while they're asleep, okay? So get you a scale first and foremost, very important. This will be your biggest clue and your biggest ally in treating your dragon if they're ill. Not an expensive one, just get a scale that weighs in grams. Know how much your dragon weighs, okay? Once a week, put them on there and go, wow, even if you want to coincide with your supplements, okay, it's vitamin day, once a week, it's Sunday. All right, let's weigh everybody and see where they are, okay? Okay, now, those are all the normal things that you need to have on a regular basis for your dragon. Okay, now let's talk about what is important for dragon first aid. Well, sorry guys, I'm trying to figure this out. There are several things that I recommend that you have in your first aid kit for your dragon, okay? First of all, let's talk about some of the things you may need to have in there, okay? I recommend a good set of nail trimmers. Now, these are Zen clippers. I got these at Amazon. A couple things about these. You notice there's a little tiny hole, okay? Right in the center there, okay? Hopefully you can see that. Okay, that's where your dragon's nail goes in there, and you squeeze it and it trims the nail. Now, this is an extra small, and it's great. It tells you when you order them that this is good for reptiles and smaller, animals. The conical shape that is in here makes it so easy to trim without causing them any grief. I have never once hurt any of the dragons excuse me, with this particular trimmer. It's great every time. They don't flinch or move, so I guess, that it seems to not bother them. And I've never hurt anybody. You just put the tip in there as far up as it goes, and you crunch, and it's gone. Now, do you have to use Zen clippers? You do not have to use Zen clippers. I would recommend, however, now you'll notice here is like a small first aid kit, yes, because I do take my dragons with me in the car. Sometimes they go with me when we're traveling or going somewhere. And so I always keep one in the car in case something comes up and, I might suddenly need to bandage somebody, or, somebody's got a nail that's snagging me, or, something of that nature. I know these are the silliest scissors I've ever seen, you guys, but hey, they fit in the thing. Okay, you can use regular standard nail clippers. I would recommend that you get nail clippers for infants, or this variety that has the slanted top. I think these are technically called cuticle nippers, but it's great because when you have that little dragon claw and you're trying to see where to trim, you can see really easily with this one. And because it's at a kind of a slant, so you're less likely to cause them some pain if you get a little too in there. So I recommend these with the slant. But again, you can get the kinds of nail clippers made for babies. You can use a standard pair if you need to. Certainly fine. I always recommend tweezers. Decent pair of tweezers can save you a world of hurt. Because, maybe your dragon was playing at the park and went to climb a tree and they got a splinter in their little toe. Or maybe something happened and a scale got stuck and it's half on and half off and you need to take it off. It's really easy to get in there and just gently do what you need to do. No pain to your dragon, no pain to anyone else. So keep a good pair of tweezers available. This one, I don't even know why it's in there. I mean, it's got a, a bottle opener, and it's got a nail file, so if you need to file anything, you can. It's got a little knife blade in case anything needed to, have a little cut, or you need help opening a package or something. So anyway, it's just an all-purpose little three-tooled, I don't know what you would call it, handy tool or some such thing. So anyway, that's in there too in case anything is needed with that. Now, Q-tips, important. If you need to get into their mouth, if you need to dab something on a wound to help clean it, if you need to, try to gently, put some water on there and wipe something out of their eye, all of those things are important reasons to have Q-tips in there. Now, these bandages in the back, those are for the humans, okay? You do not want to use Band-Aids on your reptiles. Why? Well, several reasons, not the least of which is getting them off. Remember, you don't want something that's going to, pull and yank and, cause your dragon to be harmed in their scales or their skin, because it's, it's adhesive, and so you don't want to use that on them. And I'll show you what you do use in just a minute. So anyway, if you want to use regular nail trimmers, those, make sure you always have Q-tips or cotton swabs, and a little pair of scissors if you need them. Oh, and the tweezers, which I just left out of here. So anyway, again, this is my, in the car set in case there's an issue while we're out and about, okay? Things you need to have in case of, no, they're not supplements, they're, what would you call them? They're, I'd say wound and sickness care for your dragon, let's say that. All right, so first thing I recommend that you have is calcium, liquid calcium. Now, there's a few different kinds of liquid calcium too. I particularly like this kind. For one thing, it tastes apparently like light caramel. My dragons love it. I never have them, they never argue if they need liquid calcium. And again, breakdown for reptile dosing, which I love. Thank you, beardeddragon.co. And they try to give you a little boost on here. So, treatment of secondary nutritional hyperparathyroidism, commonly indicated by metabolic bone disorders or when showing signs of neurological impairment. Because hypocalcemia, which is when they're not getting enough calcium, usually the first sign that you see is they're shaking, they got little tremors in their hands, and it looks very neurological. And they can even get a seizure if their calcium is low enough. So, again, liquid calcium. This was important again for Chimera. I added this also to his syringe feeding because he, was struggling to eat feeders because he just was so weak, and it was just hard, and his mouth rot made it difficult. And this is only once a week dosing most of the time. It depends on, again, your health and the age of your dragon. But I actually gave this to him twice a week for a while until he was on his feeders and I could use the powdered calcium. This is also important if you have a gravid female that's got, eggs. Twice a day would be appropriate. So their calcium needs when they're forming eggs is so significant, you guys, that you absolutely have to, sorry about the dog, you guys, you absolutely have to make sure that they get this. because rabid females, the calcium's going to go to the egg laying. And so if there's not enough for the eggs and for her, then she doesn't get enough, and then she gets egg binding, and then all kinds of issues, follow suit. So always have some calcium, some liquid calcium available. Okay. Also, iodine for wound cleaning. And it tells you cuts, scrapes, abrasions, wounds. It can be applied full strength. You can dab it, with a cotton swab. So again, good reason to have cotton swabs. So disinfecting wounds and keeping everything as clean as possible until you can get to the vet and have them look at it. Or if you need to change the dressing the vet applied, you want to add some of this before you put the dressing on. Okay. Also, fenbendazole is the generic equivalent of Panacur, which is the top dewormer that generally is used for bearded dragons. If your dragon shows signs of having a parasite, you want to make sure you follow the directions, and there's directions right on it. Give one low dose 7 days. For 7 days. So yeah, this is this dewormer, and if you feed crickets, I would suggest that you do this even if your dragon looks fine, that you give it to them twice a year, just because it's so easy for crickets to have parasite loads and other interesting problems that we can't see with the naked eye, but once your dragon eats them, then they now have a parasite load. So dewormer in case you need it. If you take them in for a fecal and they say yeah, they definitely do have some kind of a worm or whatever, then that's when you want to use this. Okay, good to have in your kit just in case. Now when you're going to be keeping all this stuff, guys, be sure if you have anything that's going to expire that you keep an eye on the date. Okay. Also, serrapeptase. Now serrapeptase is an enzyme that is made by silkworms, and what this is more like a catalyst. So this is like using Neosporin on a cut before you put a Band-Aid on. Okay. This is to assist in the healing and helping it to heal faster. This is also good when, for those of you who saw the prior video about Finn losing some of his shed too early, and there was a little bit of a trauma to his tail. So I've been using this, and it's been wonderful. So I recommend that you do have some serrapeptase on hand, just in case you need to do any other kind of work. This is just an add-on to help everything sort of get together faster. It's a really good enzyme for bearded dragons, reptiles in general. So now my favorite, and you'll be able to tell because I have it in 3 sizes, guys, in the house, in the car, and in wherever. Okay, colloidal silver. This is my favorite wound care type of antiseptic. Now, if you have Vatericin, that's okay. That'll work too. If you want to use Silvadene cream or powder, that's fine too. You might ask your veterinarian what they recommend for, just basic wound care. I like the colloidal silver. For one thing, it's been around for 1,000 years, and, you can use it internally, you can use it externally, and it's just an all-around good antibacterial and antiseptic. I even put this in nebulizer treatments for dragons that have upper respiratory infections, and clears them up so much faster. I mean, it's crazy. You can also, if your dragon's just kind of feeling punky, you're not really sure what's going on, you might want to just sort of see if maybe giving them a couple of doses helps them out. Finian was having trouble swallowing over the weekend, and I thought, I wonder if this is beginning of a respiratory infection. So I put him on the serapeptase and the colloidal silver twice a day for the weekend, and he's much better today. You wouldn't even know he ever felt bad. So, and he never did develop any other symptom. So, it's definitely my favorite because I know it won't harm them, and I know that it takes care of things really quickly. So, colloidal silver, my favorite. But again, if you have Vetericin or you have Silvadene powder or whatever it is you want to use that's your favorite wound care for your animal, then all for you, okay? Use whatever you want to use, but have something available in case something happens, because, accidents occur, okay? Now, what do you do if your dragon is not eating for one reason or another? Well, a couple of options here. These are both easy to find in most pet stores. One is by Zilla, one is by Flukers. Zilla is a caloric supplement and appetite stimulant, and Flukers is Reptiboost, insectivore and carnivore, high amp boost and appetite stimulant. They're both good to have around. I will tell you that I prefer the Flukers Reptiboost for a couple of reasons. Number one, this one comes out more like a jelly, or like a thick kind of almost an ointment looking dispenser. This is a powder that you can mix, and it comes with a chart, comes with a measuring cup, comes with a scoop, comes with everything you could possibly need for mixing up to give to your dragon if they're not eating for whatever reason. Now, if you have to give this for more than a few days and they're still off their feed, their normal feed, you need to go to the vet and find out why they're not eating. You don't want to force feed them, but you do need to make sure that if it's not brumation, okay, they're not trying to go into brumation, they're not in brumating, they're out of brumation, or that that's not it, then you don't want them to go more than, say, a week to 10 days without eating, because it can put them into liver failure. So it's important that they get some kind of nutrition in there. And again, it comes with instructions that it's by weight, so it will tell you how much you need to put in there for your particular reptile. I keep this, again, Finian has a hard time when he comes out of brumation going back on protein. He'll eat his greens right away, but if he goes more than 10 or 12 days and he hasn't eaten any protein, then I will fix him up a syringe of this and then give it to him for a couple of days, and then he starts in on his protein on his own. It's just, he has some special needs, and so sometimes I have to remind him, you're an insectivore. Oh yeah, right, okay. So I particularly like this one. I never have any dragons give me a problem about eating it. This one, sometimes they do not take to very easily. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the texture or the taste or what, but I definitely have much better luck with this one. Now, if your dragon is sick and this is a new situation for you, then you need to go to the vet and see if you can get your hands on some Critical Care or some Carnivore Care by Oxford emergency food supplement that you might need, which is much stronger than this, and you can feed it long term if you have to. So if your bearded dragon had surgery or something and they're just not getting back to specs and they're just really they're not doing the bug thing, you probably want to give them the Carnivore Care for a longer period of time, which has way more nutritional value than this one. This is a good standby that you can use every once in a while if there's a problem, out of the blue while your dragon's not eating. But again, if your dragon stops eating, especially if it's kind of all of a sudden, replace your bulbs if they're more than 6 months old, and check your temps, because chances are it's going to be a temperature or a UVB issue, which is why they've stopped eating, because they know they can't break it down anymore because their bulbs are old, or they're not working like they should, or maybe you got a defective one and you didn't know. You want to make sure that you check all of those things first, because if everything is right, they should be wanting to eat on their own, okay? So if not, and if you check all of that, everything's good, you're like, I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, well, I'll call the vet, I'll make an appointment, and for a couple of days, I'm going to give them an appetite stimulant so that they get their nutrition, and it should make them interested in eating unless something much more serious is going on, which is why you want to make the appointment with the veterinarian, to make sure to rule that out, okay? Now, other things that you can keep in a first aid kit for your dragon. Well, activated charcoal. Again, fortunately, you can see it's still sealed. I have not had to use this. I'm so thankful I haven't. But on occasion, as you know, bearded dragons can sometimes swallow something they shouldn't have eaten for whatever reason. It's not that common in bearded dragons. It's more common in other types of lizards, not so much bearded dragons. But, occasionally if something gets in there and they eat it, or you find out that, they ate a dandelion but it had pesticide, something, and you need to give them activated charcoal to keep them from poisoning themselves. Okay, there it is. Again, directions are on it for reptiles. Another thing you want to get, like we talked about before, is the dewormer. So the generic Panacur, in case you need it, if your dragon gets symptoms of having a parasite, or you're feeding crickets on a regular basis, then, you want to make sure you have a dewormer available. This is toltrazuril. This is a coccidiocide. So if you find out that, if your dragon is sick and not doing well, and you take a fecal sample in and they go, oh, they have coccidia, which again is a parasite that dragons can get if they do not have adequately clean environment. If they have a bioactive environment and it's not the balance of or ratio of cleaning insects is not what it should be for whatever reason, they can get coccidia. It makes them feel miserable, and you literally have to clean out their entire enclosure. So, but you want to have an anti-coccidiocide on board. The veterinarian, or if you send your fecals out to another kind of agency to be read, might, recommend that you get this, or might, give you a prescription for it. That's okay too. But I just like to be able to get ahead of the game, because inevitably it'll be a weekend, at 4 in the afternoon on a Sunday when something happens, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I can't get them started till I can get into the vet, and it can delay things. So coccidiocide, dewormer, activated charcoal. Okay, other thing, Reptirinse, eye rinse for your reptiles. It's basically a saline, but it's formulated in there to go for your reptiles. So if they have stuck shed, or they got pollen in their eye from the park, or they're not opening it, or sometimes one of their feeders fights back and they get a little nip on their eyelid, Reptirinse, you can give their eye, just open it up and give their eye a little rinse a couple of times a day to keep it clean and keep everything out of it, and help the healing process along. So always a good idea, even if it's just stuck shed, it's always a good idea to have reptile eye rinse available. Okay. All right. Other things to have, I would say just some empty dropper bottles. So that if you have to mix something up really quick, and you have to put it on a wound, or you have to feed it to them or whatever, you have extra bottles so that you can do that. You want to make sure that you keep extra syringes, okay, in case there's something that you have to feed them or give them. Also, you want to have a little scoop available. I think that's a 0.15 cc scoop, I think, in there. Also available, I think, in 2 or 3 different sizes at beardeddragon.co. But you always want to have a little scoop in case you need to measure something out. Okay, extra syringes. This is my go in the car or go on a trip. There's a scoop and a couple syringes and a water bottle in case you need it. And then I just happen to have a couple extra probiotics and some extra vitamins just in case, okay? So, those are the important things of what to have available in your emergency kit so that if anything happens to your dragon, you can get started right away while you're waiting to get into the vet or while the vet is trying to fit you in or, you know, getting back from a ski weekend or whatever it is they're doing so that you actually have the opportunity to get them what they need and have it available, okay? So, those are the things you want to have. Now, talking about wound care. Now, remember, we don't want to have something that is going to be stuck to them because you don't want to damage their skin or their scales. So, voila. We're gonna use Fred. Say hi, Fred. Okay. Let's say that your dragon was outside playing and everything looked fine, and then whoa, something wasn't fine, and they got an injury. You know, like a little abrasion. Okay. Well, what are you gonna do? Well, first you're gonna make sure that you wash it really well with water. Just let water run and kind of rinse it out. Before you do that, stop any bleeding. So if it's bleeding and you need to put direct pressure, then put direct pressure. Get a clean cloth and put it on your dragon and apply direct pressure until the bleeding stops. Okay, then you want to wash it out really well. And let's say this was a tail injury. Okay, let's say, oh, poor Fred. Ouch. Got a little injury. Okay, what do you do? Well, the first thing that I would do after making sure the bleeding stopped is I would make sure to clean it as well as you can, get it as clean as you can. I would get out my colloidal silver. I would put some drops in here. And then you want to get a gauze pad, and these happen to be sterile. Which always helps, but you know, if you have to get some that maybe aren't quite, that's not terrible. Okay? And I would say, you know, cut it to the size you need. So hopefully you have a bigger pair of scissors than these little spotty ones that come in here. But anyway, you want to just go down to the size that you need. And these are the kind, now I have to tell you, these do not stick to literally anything. These are literally just sterile sponges. They don't stick. There's no adhesive anywhere on it, okay? I'm going to put this over the injury. Now, you're going to want to find elastic stretch net, tubular dressing holder, okay? Now, you want a small width. If you have the ones that say for toe and finger, that's fine too. It's extremely stretchy, okay? So again, you're gonna wanna measure how much you need. So say about that much. Come in with your crazy, hold on, let me do that off camera. Come in with your scissors, cut it down so that it's the right, and I mean, you guys, honestly, this stuff is unbelievably stretchy, so don't let the size fool you that, oh my God, that's just way too small, it will never work. It will, but the other thing you have to watch out for is try to get the kind that actually says it's net, because they do make this stuff out of other types of materials that don't have as much netting. It's more like a cotton mixture and not helpful. Okay, so then you're going to stretch it as far as you need. Now, guys, I'm not kidding you. This stuff will stretch for days. Okay, so you're going to go up. After you stretch it out, I'm going to go onto your tail like so. I'm going to hold on to that gauze pad. You might need help. It depends on how cooperative your dragon is. Okay, get everything situated. And then you put this stretchy netting over it. And voila! That better, Fred? Fred says yes. And there you have it. Now, why do we want to do this? Because there's nothing here, there's no tape, there's no adhesive, nothing to stick to the injury, nothing to stick to the dragon, okay? And yet it's on there secure. I mean, you could wag this tail all day long, Fred, and it would not come off, okay? So, that is why you want to use the elastic stretch netting tubular dressing holder, and it will stay there. And then when your veterinarian decides to come look at it, you can just roll this off. Or if it's going to be a couple days and you need to change the dressing, you roll it off, take this dressing out, put a new one on, roll it back up. So what does this do? Well, because it's a netting, it allows air circulation, which is very important because you don't want to cause anything to get overly wet or overly rotten, or you don't want to cause scale rot if you're trying to cure an injury. Okay, it keeps it in place, so it's not going anywhere. It doesn't have any adhesive, so you're not going to hurt your dragon's skin or scales. And it's very disposable. It's very easy to use up and down, but it stays in place. Also nice is dragons tend to leave it alone. I don't know if it's because they can see their skin through it. I don't know, but usually, especially if there's an injury and it hurts anyway, dragons don't go after it. They don't tear it apart. They don't do that kind of stuff. So, it's great stuff. Doesn't matter. It could have just as easily, been over here on a leg. It could be Fred's leg is the problem, and maybe we have to go up his foot and put it right here on his little calf or on his little thigh or whatever. But Fred is not going to be going around with an open wound because now you've put a dressing on it, and then Fred will be happy to wait until you go to the veterinarian and see about getting additional help. So you want to just make sure, guys, that you can do whatever you can. And like I said, I have stuff here that I have not had to use, thank God. I'm very pleased to know that I haven't had to use it. But you never know. I mean, that's why they're called accidents and not on purposes, because you're not planning for injury and illness of your dragon. But sometimes things happen, so you want to be prepared because you have to act right away. You can't just, wait around and see, right? So those are the things I would recommend that you have in your first aid kit for your dragon. And hopefully 95% of anything that could happen to your dragon, you will be able to take care of until you can either get help or until it heals. So, again, in case they can't eat, right? In case you need to pull something out of their eye or their skin or wherever it got stuck. In case you need to open their mouth, you need a Q-tip. Okay? You need a good antiseptic for wound care. Serapeptase is really, it's just like icing on the cake. This stuff is so helpful to heal things quicker rather than later. It also helps keep everything sterile as can be. You need their regular supplements. You need yourself a good scale. You need a good pair of nail trimmers. And that's about it, you guys. If you do all of that, you should be able to keep your dragon in good shape should anything arise, and all will be right with the world. All right? Well, thanks for tuning in to the video, guys, and I hope it was helpful, and I hope that you have an idea now of what you might need to have in your bag of tricks and in your first aid kit, just in case you're unlucky enough that your dragon has an injury or something that you need to maintain until you can get additional help, okay? All right, everyone. Have a good day, and leave a comment if there's anything that I can answer for you. I'll certainly try to do that. If I can't answer it, I'll let you know who can. And I hope that you can find everything. If you have trouble finding it, most of it's going to be available on Amazon. If you have trouble, you can always give me information in the comment how to get in touch with you, and I will do so. All right? All right, everyone. Have a good day, and I hope everybody has an awesome week. And happy first aid ingredient hunting to all of you. And give all of your dragons a big hug, and be thankful you have them because they're such awesome creatures. And be on the lookout. Merlin will have, not Merlin, Chimera will have a weigh-in later this week. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.